Hello everyone, and welcome to Kroll's weekly threat intelligence briefing for the 2nd of February 2026. My name is Ryan Hicks, and with me today is Mikesh Nagar, Mark Messer, and Ethan Afuri from the threat intelligence team. So this week we'll be covering the following topics. So first I'll be covering again an overview of the new trending critical vulnerabilities for this week. Then just diving into one of those or two of those affecting Ivanti, which we pushed out as an out of band last week. Then looking at Shiny Hunters campaign targeting Okta users, Mukesh will look at a Microsoft Zero Day. Mark is covering a PURERAT campaign. And finally, Ethan going through a SICARII ransomware reporting. So the following table so this is showing critical vulnerabilities, those that have a CVSS of over 9 and are kind of either trending, have reportedly been exploited, or have a proof of concept released in the past week. So it's recommended to affected products are patched or any mitigations are put in place to reduce risk of exploitation. So the first CV 2025 15467 is a stack buffer overflow vulnerability affecting OpenSSL. And the overflow exploitation occurs before OpenSSL validates everything, so which is kind of key in the criticality of that vulnerability. Reportedly exploited in the wild. The next two are for SolarWinds with a CVSS of 9.8, not reported in the wild, but certainly discussed trending across open source. And as I mentioned, there's two CVs for Ivanti. I'll go into those shortly in the next slide. Next is CV 2025-24858. So this is for Fortinet, something that I mentioned in the report in the slides last week as kind of an unnamed CV. And it appeared to, or Fortinet said it appeared to be an old vulnerability returned on patch systems. So this has now got its own new CV vulnerability as 9.8. And again, as I mentioned last week, it was exploited in the wild, but at least now it has its own CV number for tracking purposes. And then lastly here, vulnerability for Smarter Tools, Smarter Mail has both a proof of concept and exploit in the wild with a CVSS of 9.3. All of those have patches available, so certainly recommend patching if anyone is using those. So just diving into two of those, which was for Ivanti Endpoint Manager Mobile, which is, as I mentioned, we released an out of bands for last week. And this is Ivanti's mobile device management solution, effectively. And the vulnerabilities allow attackers to achieve unauthenticated code execution. It's worth noting, it says under the table, Ivanti Endpoint Manager, which is just EPM rather than EPMM. And also Ivanti Neuron's mobile device management are different products. So Ivanti state that those are not affected or impacted by this. The table shows the affected versions as well as the resolved fixes. And attackers can exploit these vulnerabilities over the network without user interaction or authentication. This could result in a full system compromise on affected instances, and as well as kind of a lateral movement to the connected environment. Those applications actually store a lot of sensitive information about the devices that are managed by the appliance. So those are potentially available to the actor if it was exploited. And Ivanti confirmed that there are small number of known impacted customers. However, they don't provide at this time any kind of further details on the threat name, tactics, or indicators. So kind of keep an eye out for those. They do mention that administrators should look out for or look in the Apache access log for suspicious access attempts. And they noted that where 404 HTTP response codes could be a sign of exploitation. They do provide a regular expression pattern that can be used to assist in parsing that log. And we've mentioned that in our report, so that can be used to assist kind of looking through that log, so potentially quite a large log to go through. Avanti do note, kind of based on previous exploitation of those products, that they acted commonly deployed web shells for persistence, often targeting HTTP error pages, such as 401 JSP. So not saying that is confirmed happened here, but they certainly say it's a kind of trend across these products. A script patch is available, so they released a patch for it. But kind of importantly, they noted that the script does not survive a version upgrade. So that means if you update the device after applying the script fix, you'll need to run the script again to reapply the fix. So they mentioned that a permanent fix should be included in the 12.8.0.0 release. So certainly keep an out for that on affected products, and when that is available, that will be the kind of long-term permanent fix for this vulnerability. Okay, so next up is Okta have reported on an active campaign by a group it tracks as UNC034, which leveraged voice social engineering against help desk staff to take over accounts and manipulate payroll data. This is social engineering consisted of the actor requesting a password reset for an impersonated employee. They then enrolled their own MFA device for persistent access to the account, enrolling in sort of various security controls, including Okta Verify and voice call authentication. This essentially resulted in them being able to access internal applications as that user. So things like payroll applications, Salesforce, Office 365, and Google Workspace. There are also sort of further additional reporting around open source related to the same campaign, which is being tracked under the group Scattered Lapsus Hunters, which is a kind of a newly formed group collaboration of Scattered Spider, Lapsus, and Shiny Hunters. And the initial access to that voice or social engineering certainly aligns with our previous observations of the group, whereby Scatter Spider would be that kind of voice phishing element, and then Shiny Hunters would be that front end carrying out victim extortion and kind of the communication to the victim, which appears to be kind of mirrored here. Google Threat Intel also published indicators surrounding activity, which includes 300 domains appearing to impersonate organization domains, likely for kind of phishing purposes. And the kind of pattern of those is shown there, which is orgname sso.com, orgname internal.com. And again, that kind of aligns with previous observations of kind of Scatter Spider and this kind of collaboration where they would use kind of -Okta, -sso.com with their phishing domains. So recommendations really kind of like a lot of this voice phishing, implementing kind of rigorous process around identifying employee for password resets, and that could involve including the supervisor and the manager of the employee requesting, and kind of ensuring that all that communication to the manager and providing the password to the manager is through internal channels, because sometimes we can see the threat actor then impersonating the manager via voice phishing. So ensuring that that process is all done via the internal channel, so that it's kind of managed appropriately. And then for Okta users, there's Okta provided some additional recommendations specific to their application, so recommended to check those out. And a link is in our report. Next, hand over to Mukesh.
Thank you, Ryan. Microsoft has released an emergency out-of-band security update for a Office zero-day vulnerability, which has been tracked as CVE 2026-21509. The vulnerability is actively exploited and carries a CVSS score of 7.8. The issue stems from an OLE mitigation bypass that allows an attacker to circumvent controls meant to block unsafe COM and OLE contents. Now, attackers can exploit this vulnerability by sending a specifically crafted Office document and persuading a user to open it. Although the preview pane cannot trigger the exploit, targeting phishing or spear phishing campaigns remain a realistic delivery method. Microsoft does credit in their report MSTIC, MSRC, and the Office product group security team for discovering the issue. CISA has also added the vulnerability to its known vulnerabilities catalog, requires all federal agencies to patch the vulnerability by the 16th of February 2026. This vulnerability fits into a long-running pattern of attackers abusing OLE-based mechanisms to weaken Office protections. Security features bypasses are especially valuable because they undermine built-in safeguards without relying on code execution bugs. Now, Microsoft urges immediate patching for Office 2016 and 2019, and a simple application restart will enable service-side mitigations for Microsoft 365 apps and Office 2021. In the event patching is not available, Microsoft recommends applying a registry-based block for the vulnerable COM class identifier, which details can be found in the report as well as the Microsoft website. And those trying to protect the environment should also increase monitoring for suspicious OLE activities, as well as unexpected processes launched by Microsoft Office and its relevant documents. So this could be Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all attempting to invoke the web browser ActiveX control. That's everything from me. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Rakesh. Mark?
Thank you, Ryan. The PURERAT campaign represents a shift in how hackers are leveraging AI to develop and deploy malware. First documented in December 2025, this ongoing operation demonstrates AI-assisted code generation across multiple components of the attack chain. The threat actor behind this campaign has created batch scripts with extensive Vietnamese language comments explaining each step, Python loaders with numbered instructions and emoji markers, and even embedded reminders to themselves within the code. All of these are telltale signs of LLM or large language model assistance. This aligns with broader industry observations that AI is primarily being used by attackers to overcome technical skill gaps and language barriers, particularly while creating phishing materials and developing code. The attack methodology shows iterative changes despite the attacker's apparent reliance on AI assistance. Initial campaigns used malicious zip or RAR attachments and then evolved to hosting files on Dropbox with download links, likely to avoid email security filters that flag attachments more aggressively. The malicious archives themselves contain job-themed lures with names like Find New Product Promotion Plan.zip and Duolingo Marketing Skills Assessment .zip, targeting job seekers who may be using work computers during their search. Once opened, the archives execute a complex infection chain involving DLL sideloading through legitimate applications like HiSoft PDF Reader or Microsoft Excel, followed by batch scripts that create hidden directories, extract Python interpreters, and establish persistence mechanisms. Similar tactics have been observed before in the Valley Rat campaign, which also abuses PDF readers for DLL sideloading and targets job seekers with recruitment-themed lures. Technical indicators strongly suggest AI involvement in code development, specifically analyze with comments like check existence. I have photos of these within the slides, by the way. And working directory, both of these have emojis that AI models frequently insert due to training on social media data. Python loaders include instructional comments such as remember to paste the base64 encoded HV and C shellcode here, but written, of course, in Vietnamese, suggesting that the attacker is following AI-generated templates rather than writing from scratch. Their infrastructure also reveals Vietnamese origins through passwords, which are in Vietnamese, and use of GitLab accounts with the first syllables of the same names. The campaign's apparent motivation is financial rather than espionage. The wide range targets and generic lures suggests that the attackers are seeking initial access to sell to other cyber criminals, a common access as a service business model. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Mark. Finally, Ethan.
Thanks, Ryan. To continue on this AI and Gen AI theme, SICARII ransomware, first observed in December 2025, presents a unique threat where data recovery is functionally impossible regardless of the ransom payment. Technical analysis reveals a critical coding flaw in the malware's RSA implementation. Every time the locker executes, it generates a unique RSA key pair locally, encrypts the victim's files, and then immediately discards the private key. Because the encryption is not tied to a recoverable master key, even the attackers are unable to provide a working decryptor, rendering negotiations and payments entirely trivial. Researchers from Halcyon and Checkpoint assess with moderate confidence that this defect stems from the use of AI-assisted vibe coding tools. These tools allow unskilled actors to prioritize development speed over technical reliability, leading to catastrophic cryptographic errors that would typically be caught during rigorous manual testing. Additionally, the group's branding appears to be a false flag operation designed to mislead investigators. Despite using Jewish historical symbolism and Hebrew text, their underground activity is conducted in Russian, and their Hebrew communications contain errors indicative of poor automated translation. Beyond encryption, the group has been observed performing credential harvesting and data exfiltration against small businesses, and consequently, victims should assume total data loss and focus exclusively on isolating affected systems and restoring operations from secure, offline, or immutable backups. Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan, and that's all we have time for this week. If you have any questions, please contact us at cti@kroll.com. Thank you, and see you next week.